one thing that people do is they create checklists. They say, they've gotten these lessons from coaches who tell them, do these 5 things, do these 9 things, do this one thing. So this is another YouTube phenomenon, right? So you have the guy who says, do this one thing, right? And then you have the other guy or gal who says, do these 5 things. And then you have another person who says, do these 9 things. And then the problem is they don't overlap, right?
Yeah.
Somebody says to do something different than the one thing, and 3 of the 9 things disagree with 3 of the 5 things. And then you get, and so then that overly complicates things. So what we're going to do is we're going to show you how to put down the checklist. Another thing people do is they think if they just criticize themselves enough, they'll do better. So there are certain people who come from certain backgrounds, certain religious backgrounds, and I'm not going to name them, but I'll get somebody and they seem very self-critical. They're kind of in a shame-based way of doing things, and I go, do you come from this particular persuasion? And then they go, yes, I do. How did you know that? I'm like, oh, I just the way you criticize yourself and everything's right or wrong, good or bad, and you're doing all these subjective judgments. So when you leave that behind and you just kind of come to, we're going to talk about how to objectively observe what's really happening, because that's going to be a lot more empowering than criticizing and saying good shot, bad shot. Because one of the phenomenons of players who are pretty good is ace followed by double fault, right? So they hit an ace and they're all excited, and then their mind kind of spins out of control, and then they're like, oh, now what's the follow-up? Can I do it again? And they start thinking, and then they double fault, and they're like, how come I always do that? And they develop a complex. They believe that they're not actually capable of hitting an ace followed by another very good first serve, right? And I'm not saying you have to continually hit aces one after the other. That's not smart. But and then another thing that people do, and we'll talk about how to solve this problem, is they try to analyze. They're always thinking, what's the deficient area, and they'll have like 9 different categories because they took the lesson that said 9 different things, and they're like, well, is it my backswing? Is it my follow through? Is it my grip? Is it my, what is it? What did I do wrong that time? And they'll jump from this time to that time to that time. And there are other things. I mean, I don't think we should go through the whole list, but those are the 3 major ones that I see. And once I get that player to realize that those mental strategies will never work, and this is always a funny moment on the court. I'm like, hey, you're doing that thing again. Can you remind me when that's ever going to start working? And they say, never. And I'm like, yeah, that's right. It's never going to work. So, I mean, when do you want to start doing it this other way? Do you want to return to doing that other way? And they go, yeah, I think that would be a good idea. Okay.
Yeah.
Then let's do that. Yeah, it's really fascinating. And these are things that people don't talk about in the teaching world. So I wish it's funny, I kind of scoff when people use the marketing thing, learn the 9 secrets or the 7 secrets of that, right? And I'm like, well, they're only secrets if you don't know them. So there's nothing secret. You won't learn anything secret, but it might have been hidden from you until now. So we're gonna unravel, we're gonna unveil some things that maybe you didn't know, and then you'll be able to use that in your career moving forward, and then you won't have the pain of saying, I wish I had learned that closer to the beginning than closer to the end.